Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a live stream from a creator who's doing something pretty incredible. She's not just building a brand, she's basically architecting an entire digital nation from scratch. So right off the bat, you get the mission statement. The speaker here, Sister Tahait, she's framing her whole operation not just as some business, It's an act of faith. It's a way to liberate herself from what she calls colonial corporations. And this idea, it's absolutely central to the Moorish worldview she's promoting. It's all rooted in this pre-colonial identity and a claim to sovereignty.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. We'll start by mapping out her digital ecosystem. Then we'll dig into the core ideology, see how she uses it to break down the news, and finally, look at how she defends her community's identity, from critics on the outside and even dissent on the inside.
Okay, first up, let's take a look at the network that's really at the heart of this whole project. And right at the center of it all, you've got Sister Tahait. Now, she calls herself a merchant, which is interesting. She's managing this entire network of businesses and platforms that are all built specifically for the Moorish community. And look, this isn't just a random list of websites. You've got to see it as a connected ecosystem. There are platforms for news and info, for commerce, for social organizing, and the key thing is, they're all designed to work together.
So how does this all work? Well, this whole ecosystem is built on three really essential pillars that support the entire movement.
It's actually a pretty brilliant model, kind of like a self-sustaining loop. You've got community, right? That's the social glue. Think virtual meetings, study groups. Then you've got commerce, which is the engine. It's an online shop that provides the funding. And where does that funding go? Directly into charity, which is set up to take care of the community's needs.
And get this, here's the key number. A full 20% of all the revenue from her businesses gets funneled directly into that charity she set up, mrcicharities. And this charity didn't just sit around. It was put to the test almost immediately. Some members of the Rise of the Moors group were arrested, and about a year and a half later, the charity gets officially set up. Just a few weeks after that, bail is granted, and in less than 24 hours, bam, the charity raises the entire bail amount. It was this huge proof of concept for the whole model.
Okay, so having a self-funding community is one thing, right? But how does this ideology actually interact with the outside world? Let's take a look at how she uses this framework as a lens to interpret mainstream news for her audience.
All right, first example. She's talking about a change from the Department of Education. Basically, new rules narrow the definition of professional degrees. What that means is students in really important fields like advanced nursing, engineering, architecture suddenly got cut off from access to higher federal loan limits. So she looks at this and just questions the logic of it all. I mean, why would you deprofessionalize engineering of all things? It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Through her lens, there's only one explanation. It's got to be about the money.
Okay, next up, she dives into a different news story. This one's about federal fraud investigations happening in Minnesota's Somali American community. And of course, the political fallout from that, which included the Trump administration ending temporary protective status, or TPS, for Somali immigrants.
But her analysis here, it zeroes in on one specific detail. A Somali community leader got up and condemned the fraud, saying, "This ain't how Americans act." And for Sister Tahait, that's the whole issue. Her critique is all about identity. She basically says, you're not American, you're a Somali national. You don't get to say what is or isn't American behavior.
And that right there, that brings us to the absolute core of this worldview, identity. She spends a ton of time defining what it means to be Moorish, and a big part of that is contrasting it with other movements. And the line she draws in the sand is, well, it's pretty stark. She presents the Moorish identity as this ancient, historical, even planetary thing that goes way beyond modern countries. But then she contrasts that with the foundational Black American, or FBA, identity. She describes that as something new, something limiting. She even says it's a trademarked concept. Her words, not mine, are that it's like being branded like cattle. To really drive this point home, she uses this amazing metaphor. She says it's like a pie. Other groups, they might have their one slice. But the Moorish identity, she says that's like this massive patch pie, with blueberry and strawberry rhubarb, that takes up 3/4 of the whole plate. It's her way of symbolizing this huge, vast historical claim. But here's the thing. Defending this identity isn't just about arguing with people on the outside. It's also about policing conflict and dissent inside the community. And she illustrates this with a really telling story.
So this whole conflict, it plays out online step by step. It starts with a video she posts. Then a guy comments, disagreeing with her about her Moorish flag, calling it an African flag. She stops responding, so he makes his own video, stitching hers to confront her directly. But here's the twist. In his video, he reveals he came from a different Moorish temple, and that was the key. It allowed her to frame him not just as a critic, but as an ideological threat from within.
And that's when she pulls out this label, backslider. Now for her, this isn't just someone who disagrees or left the temple. No, it's a term that's absolutely loaded with this idea of impurity. She describes it as smelling like rancid, muddy water. It's a super powerful way to define who's in the group and who's out.
So, after all that, what's her final message to her followers? It's basically this: start acting like the people in power. When she tells them to become more bougie, she's not just talking about buying nice things. She means they need to adopt the mindset, the expectations, the sense of entitlement of old money. It's a strategy for reclaiming the status they believe is rightfully theirs. When you step back and look at the whole thing, this live stream is really a fascinating blueprint. It shows you exactly how digital media, a self-funding business, and a very tightly defined ideology can all be woven together to build a modern movement, one that's all about self-determination, and it's happening completely online. So what we've really looked at here is a case study answering that big question. It's one creator's model for how to forge a community, an identity, a nation, online. And it kind of leaves you wondering, right? In an age where we're all connected by screens, what does the future of building a nation even look like?